afternoon, YouTube. It's your man all the way, George Page, aka the Emperor of Female Bodybuilding Talk, coming to you live on YouTube. Well, folks, this is my second video today. This is more of a discussion than an actual interview. We have here the lovely Miss Lotta. As you know, Lotta is an IFBB pro. She got a pro card last year at the Olympia Amateurs. She has been competing in sport for pretty much 30 years. And she was competing overseas in NABA, and then she started competing the last few years here in the States. And she's a legend. She's also has been a judge. I think also you've been judging some shows.
Yeah, I was judging at some smaller shows.
And also she is, like I said, she's a woman who really knows about this sport. If you follow my channel, or you follow me on social media in general, there's something that happened about a few days ago, like a week ago. And I saw this and I said, you know what? This is something need to be talked about. As you know, I follow certain channels. Most definitely one of my guys who I follow is the Female Bodybuilding channel. Shout out to AJ and JB over there. Great guys. They really give a voice for women's bodybuilding. And I saw this posted on their channel some time ago. Excuse me. It was something happened recently that the IFBB and NPC came together and they made a decision. So what they did was, now, after Olympia, after 2023 Olympia, they're changing the requirements and criteria for men's physique. And I'm saying, okay, like I said, I don't do a lot of content on men. My channel is about, focus on women. And I saw this, and it really gave me a thought of why not the other divisions. So I'm gonna post it up here. This is for the Female Bodybuilding channel, and like I said, great guys. They really speak to us fans who are fans of women in bodybuilding. And it says that after the Olympia this year will be, there will be instituting height and weight limits for men's physique pros. And the question that they ask is, do we need the same in women's physique? And I'm looking at some comments on it. If you look down here, like there's me all the way as George Page that says, what's the point if you can do this for the men physique, which is actually men's bikini? Why not for the other divisions? This needs to be happening in women's physique. And there's some people like Haley Perry. She says yes. Amanda Schnickser, I know, says yes. We have here David Bryant from the Female Body Forum says, I think so. There's JB, he says, I did not get them or weird ideas. Some other people, Stephanie Novak, I think she says, it doesn't seem that like women's physique needs to, that women's body does. It's a lot of debating here. Maria Weto says, yes, height and weight proportions. And think about Maria Weto. Maria is one of the tallest women right now in sport of bodybuilding. She's nearly 6 feet tall, or at 6 feet tall. A few others are chiming in, a lot of names. We have Michelle Britt husband, right here. We also have here Jessica Belt, several others. I'm not going to go through all of it, but the question is, why should we go back and do it? Because I think they had it back in the 2000s. They had a weight class for women's bodybuilding. They had women as lightweights and heavyweights. And that lasted for about, I think about 3 or 4 years before they dropped it and went back to just anything goes. Now, Lotta here, she is going to share about her thoughts and also her experience as a competitor, where she was in a show when she was, she was competing back in NABA, and give her thought and critique of what she thinks that should it just be just the men's physique, or should it affect the other divisions, most definitely women's bodybuilding and women's physique. So I'm going to hand it off here to Lotta, and she gives her thought and critique.
Yeah, thank you, George. So I think, first of all, why is important to talk about some criteria? Like why we need it. Some people say like, okay, let the sports develop the way it is, like it's like organic development of the sports. The girls are getting bigger, they are getting harder. It's how they want to go, like how the sport is progressing, and you cannot stop the progress, which I understand. But at the same time, think about like how many classes we have for women already. We're starting with the bikini, Then we have a figure fitness. Figure and fitness is probably, like, just say the same size, or should be the same size. Just fitness is having the gymnastic routine and the figure is not. And then you have now wellness coming in, and then you have women physique and bodybuilding. So you have 6 classes where women can compete right now. And I always had the idea that, okay, like these classes should be like, when you start think, let's just say you started bikini, you progress naturally, you want to be better as a competitor, work on your weak spots. At certain point, you overgrow your division. At certain points, you will be too big, too thick, too this, too that. I thought, like, if you want to do this as a competitor, of course, it's like every competitor wants to do that. Every competitor wants to be better and better and better. But it doesn't mean you have to stick with the same class and demand the class is developing. It means you overgrow your class, you go to the higher class. Like you bikini, you grow your back, you grow, bigger, better proportion, you go figure, you grow up in figure, you go physique. You overgrow physique, you go bodybuilding. It's like the personal development should be done from class to class to class. But sometimes I have a feeling like some girls, some women, they don't want to do that. They want to do like develop personally, but then they are still sticking in the same class. And I remember, like, I was training girls and I was having this problem sometimes. Like, I had these girls who were competing in bikini and she was like really good in like the upper body development. I said, like, okay, hey, maybe next year we should try figure instead of bikini. And she was like, oh, but I don't want to, because figure is not that feminine like bikini. And then basically I had the same problem with some girls in figure, the same argument. Oh, I don't want to go physique because physique is not that feminine like figure. I'm like, girl, you already have the parameters for the class. You already outgrown your own class. It's natural to go to the higher class. You don't need to change. You don't need to be like, I don't know, like, I have a feeling like the girls in the lower classes always think that the higher class is already not feminine enough or something like that. And they want to stick in that class, but that's also pushing the class itself still like higher and higher and higher. But then at the end of the day, we have this situation when we will have like 6 classes, but 4 of them will look the same. And then what is the point of having these 4 classes?
Well, as you know, Physique was brought in to be like a replacement for women's bodybuilding. Because you remember,
Yes.
After the Olympia back in 2014, they kicked women's bodybuilding out. Because they said
Yeah, I know.
yeah.
They said it should be like a little bit smaller. I think it was supposed to be like a revival of the 90s, like, get it on a little smaller, little softer, more like focused on the shape and stuff like that. I had a feeling like it would be the revival of the, let's just say, late 80s, 90s look of bodybuilding, what they want to do with the physique. And I actually welcome that because that's my favorite look probably for the physique of a competitor.
Kind of like the end of Court Evans' career, the start of Linda Murray. You still had Kim Zavetsky at that time, and people like Laura Creval. But if you remember that last Miss Olympia back in '99, Kim Zavetsky was huge. I think she was the biggest anybody's seen her. And then that's when they instituted the weight classes after that. Because if you, I know a lady who competed that show, Melanie Horton, and she was probably one of the small girls at the end. And that's why she walked away from the sport because, she felt like, I remember she said in an interview because she was getting small. She was kind of small compared to Vicky Gates and Laura Creval, Kim Zavetsky, those women back then. It's supposed to be like, it's kind of like men's classic, how it's a revival of like Arnold, Frank Zane level. But, the guys in men's physique, if you feel like you're getting to a level, then you go up to men's classic or, like how 212. How's that?
If you think about men, and men are having now paradox situation because they already have the weight limits in classic physique, which should be like a bigger than the men physique, but there is no weight limit on men physique. So some of the men physique guys I've seen, they are bigger than classic physique guys actually. So it's like a bikini being bigger than women physique in this moment.
Yeah. So either choice is either go to 212 or keep getting bigger and go up to open.
Yeah.
So well, we got here. My man Roy coming through says, says, hey George, and Roy, you also know about bodybuilding. He lives in India. It's like 12 o'clock in the morning for here. If you want to come in, come join us. And he says He says, where's BKL balls deep? You guys asleep. Well, Baldy was on this morning where I did my interview with Laura, and KL. He was. I think KL had to work that morning, so he'll probably come later. But yeah, I think because the men's divisions are the divisions that bring in more promotion, more money, they're gonna get more attention than the women. But I've done some interviews with ladies who compete in physique, women who compete in bodybuilding. They feel like it should be some kind of height and weight limit, and it'd be a lot easier. What it would do, like some ladies who I know say that some women say they don't want it because if there's like if physique gets a height and weight limit, it's gonna push a lot of the more bigger, taller women up into physique. And we said that how some women say they don't want to go up to because of the femininity thing. But the fact is, if you're growing and evolving as an athlete, you have to. You just can't like for example.
That's what I think too. Yeah.
Yeah, and a good example is like Melissa Tyke, how one point she said she didn't want to go up to women's bodybuilding, but like I was doing an interview with this young lady this morning, her waist is getting thick. She's not giving that more of that that contoured shape, and because of that, hold that contoured shape, you're not going to do as well in physique. Because I remember Melissa, she took 8th at the last year's Olympia, and she was number 6 at 2021. If you or a good example like this, someone like a lady I did interview with, Barbara Marjan, who's still 4th in the last 3 Miss Olympias, last 3 Olympias she's competed in, and you have someone like maybe her fellow countrywoman, Ann Moon, who's won quite a few shows, but she's not even cracked the top 10 in the last couple of Olympias she's competed.
Yeah, I mean, like with the women bodybuilding, it's like I think it would help women bodybuilding actually if they put some weight cap. It have to be like a height weight formula, I would see. So the taller women can be like same like the classic guys. The taller classic guys having a higher weight limit, of course, than the shorter guys.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And if you do the height weight formula, that would push the bigger girls to bodybuilding because basically there would be no option for them. Either they would have to lose the muscles and get smaller for the physique again, or if they want to keep the muscle, they would be pushed to the bodybuilding. Mm-hmm. But to me, it's not necessarily a bad thing. Like first of all, it would raise amounts of bodybuilders on stage. It would raise our number on stage as bodybuilding. Plus, also I see that it would bring more body types in bodybuilding. I know that people think that the bigger one, like in the bodybuilding, like the 80-kilo girl, like 190-pound girl, will win always over the smaller ones. But I don't think it have to be necessarily the case because we don't have only one criteria in bodybuilding. We have a size, we have a shape, we have symmetry, we have elegance, we have leanness, we have hardness. We have all these criteria. The girl with the most criteria wins. If you will have a big girl and she will be not, for example, carrying that level of elegance, that level of conditioning, she can lose with a smaller girl. And it happened in the past. But because nobody wants to go to bodybuilding, now we have bodybuilders who are having like similar physiques, like what it takes body types. But if it will bring more body types in bodybuilding, it can become like more interesting for the fans too. You would have different types of girls. If you remember in 90s, you have different types of girls. They were all looking different. If you look at Laura Crevel and you look, for example, on Linda Marie and the other girls, like you could see that they are different. But that was what made the sport interesting to me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I think that if they weight cap the women physique, it will benefit female bodybuilding because you get more people competing in bodybuilding.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because that would force the girls who say, "I don't want to go up because I feel like I'm not being feminine anymore." But either you step up or you step out. Like good example, like I'll pull some pictures right here from the female bodybuilding channels and some competitors here on here. Give me a second. And how some of these ladies now, like if they had Toronto Pro, which was about a week or so ago, and Teresa Vasa competed this show, and a couple years back, Teresa went to Physique for half a minute. And the thing about Teresa is that, I don't know, she has a great back, but I think her lower half is not catching up with her upper part. Yeah, and you look at, like I said, she's kind of on the lean side, and then you have someone like I think you have someone like Julia Wetzel, who's she just switched over from physique to women's bodybuilding, and I think Julia is like 5'8", 5'9", and that's pretty tall for a woman. Usually I think the best female bodybuilders are usually between 5'3" to maybe about 5'2" to 5'5",
Yeah.
because they can really put on the muscle just right. And then you have someone like here. This is a back picture of Melina Williams. Now it was put on, but now she's going by her married name. She has good definition in her quads and her back. She's a little thicker in the waist, which is why she's not as tapered compared to physique competitors. And then you look at someone like Tana Huey. And Tana, I think she's still a little bit lean on the legs. She has that good width at the upper body. She has that good amount of amount her lats. She's right there where if she can bring in her legs a little more, she probably would do a lot better. What you think?
Yeah, I think so. I agree with you.
Yeah, and then
I mean, like, I'm a big fan of Teresa's physique, though, because she's very elegant. But I think that the winner had her on the conditioning in this show.
Mm-hmm.
And as you said, conditioning of the lower body.
Yeah, I think what I heard somebody said that Teresa doesn't do.
On the other hand, like, if you take the winners from Toronto, they are not the biggest girls in the bodybuilding. They still look great.
Mm-hmm.
They will do well. So
Yeah,
this is what I'm saying. Like, if we pull like the weight limits on a women physique, we can see more interesting competitors coming to women bodybuilding, and it will be more interesting to compete again.
Yeah, I think people want to see, like you said, but he wants to see more of a contrast between lady. I think one thing is like the bigger girls usually are gonna take them a lot longer for them.
This happened to me when I was competing. I started competing in women physique. I was basically the first European women physique woman ever. I jumped to women physique class right in 2012, March 2012. It was the first show which was open like here in NPC in the United States. And I came from Europe to compete in physique because back then what happened in Europe is like they did, as you said, they did only one class in bodybuilding. And back then I was on the lighter side. I was weighing like 121 pounds myself, or 128, something like this, between 121 and 128. So I was on the lower, smaller girl. And they stopped doing weight classes. I was still in amateur class, of course. I'm now talking about amateurs, but they still had the weight classes. They stopped the weight classes in Europe. And suddenly I was competing with girls who were like 30, 40 pounds heavier than me and harder, like, better quality. So I was like, okay, at the same time they introduced physique, and they said physique will be something between figure and bodybuilding. It will be like more like the NABA figure. And I had history with competing in NABA figure, which basically is like and when I say figure, it's not figure, it's more like a women physique in the terms of conditioning and size. And I said, like, okay, that's class right for me. I don't need to change anything. I jumped right in the women physique. And I competed, and I had like 128 pounds. And I was, I remember I was too soft for the show because nobody was really sure how the conditioning should look like. It was one of the first physique shows. But they say also you're too big for that. So for the 2013 Arnold Classic, I actually downsized. I downsized 8 pounds of muscle. And they say you're perfect size for the physique now. You can compete like, you just need to be a little bit harder, a little bit tighter, and you will be placing well in physique, and you can get the pro card and blah, blah, blah. And you are perfect size for physique. And then when I had like a break from competing, I returned back in 2019, and I was competing in physique at the Olympia with 128 pounds, and I was the smallest girl in physique lineup. In just like a span of 2013, 2019, it's like 6 years. In just a span of 6 years, I went from the girl who was perfect size to the girl who was the smallest on the stage with the same size.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
so you can see how it's going up in the size. And I believe that the competitors who were competing with me, they were around like 140, 150 pounds.
Mhm. I think that's what it is because it's just the criteria keeps changing. They want the girls to be when Physique started. The big person at the time was Danielle Bailey, and a lot of girls that I talked to says that was the person they want to shoot for. And then Julian McCart came in, and her look was kind of good bottom muscle, good feminine. It was like more of a throwback to maybe the Corey Houston or
When I
Linda
think
Murray.
about physique, I think that Julia is the golden standard for me. Julia
Yeah.
McCart, her size, her shape, her conditioning, her overall package, I think she's like the golden standard of physique for me. How I myself envisioned like physique would look like. Of course, then Shanik was like a phenom, like she was crazy shapes. I remember her, like she was having almost these cartoonish shapes, but it was still good. Like she was still looking good.
And then switch to Sarah was a little bit more, a little leaner, a little bit more, not as big, but more leaner. A little bit more. We say grainy, or more like she's just coming about more shredded compared to the other two.
Yeah.
So anyway, we got a man here. Man Roy saying, I have got tonsillitis issues today. Man, it's hard for me to speak. Join your stream next time. Sorry. Don't be sorry, brother. I understand. We're gonna also go pull up some pictures here. This is from the Female Bodybuilding channel, and it's pictures from the Omaha Pro. Was the same week as it was the same weekend, but it was on Saturday, while Toronto was on Sunday. And right here, the win the show was Emily Schubert. Now, people were talking that Emily should be going up to women's bodybuilding, but when I'm talking to other people, say no. Even though her quads are a lot larger than most women in physique right now, and even some women in women's bodybuilding, they feel like she's still not as big and doesn't have that, how to say, the muscle bellies for women's physique. Women's bodybuilding.
Yeah, I actually see this competitor on the borderline. I seen her pictures from the before the show, and I was thinking like she's thick enough to do bodybuilding. Like her thickness is there, her conditioning is there. She may be a little bit smaller, but this is what I'm saying. That bodybuilding shouldn't be focused solely on the size only, because in that case, if I will focus only on the size, I can be a bodybuilder in a bulking phase and say I'm the bigger girl on stage, biggest girl on stage, and I should win. So it shouldn't be like that. And I would quite like, I didn't do the comparisons myself, but I would like to, for example, compare her and some smaller girls who were at the Olympia, like, what's her name? She was on second place.
You talk about Sarah?
No, bodybuilders.
Oh, you mean Angela, yo.
Yeah, that's her, yeah.
Angela.
If you compare her and Emma, I would like to see the comparison side by side, because
well, I could probably do that. I could probably make a video. I could probably make something like that. This is another lady. She's from my home state, North Carolina. This is Mrs. I forgot her last name. Mrs. McCow. She's in physique, and she took second to Emily at that show. And she was pretty impressive. I think she has the look that they wanted to see more in women's physique, but she might have a few issues here and there, and how she's gonna place her next show.
Yeah, if I look at her, like, you can see that if you compare these two, it looks like she's way smaller visually. The only thing I see, like a physique, I would like to see like a bigger tapers in physique, like, being also about the X frame, like tighter waist, bigger lats.
Here we have is Anna Harris, who she's been competing for a while. She earned her pro card back in 2021 at the Arnold Schwarzenegger Classic Amateur Show, and she's last competed. She competed a couple. This is the second show she competed this year, because she competed at the I think she did Ultima, and I believe she did St. Louis, and this is her third show. And I'd see a picture with her, and she did a photo shoot with Jessica Reyes Padilla. And if you saw that, if I can find it, I'll probably find that photo later if I can find it. If you look at them both, you wouldn't think they were both. One was physique, one was figure. You would think they were both the same division.
Yeah. I actually like her shapes.
Yeah. You think
like?
Go ahead.
I actually like her shape. because this shot is like how I envision physique.
So she has that more tapering waist,
Yes,
not as
that's
dense.
what I'm thinking they will be striving for.
Yeah, not as dense, but still, she looked like she
But I
could.
think like if we return back to criteria and not just judging, it's hard to like judge one person from one person. I don't want to do like a personal judging, because you always have to think like what you have on stage in front of you, and that can change from competition to competition. Of course, like judges have to judge the girls they have in front of them, but then should be something like the overall criteria. And like if we don't keep them, what will happen if we don't keep them?
Well,
Because we were talking before the show also about the figure girls going also bigger now, and I think it goes hand in hand with not keeping criteria clear in different classes, because when physique started, a lot of the smaller bodybuilders went in physique, but also a lot of the bigger figure girls went to physique. But now when physique is getting bigger and harder and more like bodybuilding like, these girls, they're still invested in competing.
well,
They still need training and stuff.
we have this example here of this is Autumn Edwards, or maybe if she was Autumn Swanson. She started out. She was one of the early women in physique. She competed to Olympia, good part for I think from 2013 to 2015 in women's in physique.
I'm actually a big fan of her physique.
Yeah, and she was competing in figure for a good while, but this is her turn to physique. And she looked like she has put on a little more size. You really see, because I think she last competed in figure back in 2021. She had competed for a couple of years, and they talked about how much like she really put on some size in those last 2 years.
Yeah, but still, it's not like you don't see the thickness like in bodybuilders. I think like her physique is great for physique class. Question it will be like how to do the cap for the weight, like how much weight you allow to have certain girls.
And here is the one lady, I think I forget her name. She took fifth at the show, and is it her? She looks like a lady who took. She looks more like a lady who took second at Omaha, but I don't know what the judges are looking for.
Yeah. I mean, like, I cannot, I really didn't check all the competitors. So, as I said, it's hard to say because you cannot judge what you just like the girls who are on the stage. Because each show will be different. So, there should be some criteria put online, and this criteria should be clearer. And it's like, why it's happening that these classes are shifting. As I said, like before, physique to me was supposed to be between bodybuilding and figure. So smaller girls went in there, bigger girls from figure went in there. Then it went back, bigger and bulky and more thick. The criteria changed. Now you have a girls who still doesn't really fit in figure, but they don't fit in the physique anymore. So again, we have some group in the middle. These girls can either stick with physique and try to compete in there and get bigger and try to fit in the class, or they will go to figure. And now suddenly you have these girls who are in figure and they are getting bigger, and they come and they may be leaner and they may be having better criteria in like a way of, if you look just like the bodybuilding way of judging. And now we can see figure girls getting bigger too, especially if you look at the lower half, the leg development in figures, that was tremendously up. You didn't see straighted quads many times, except Natalia Koleva, who was competing in figure, and she was basically the only one I seen figure with straighted quads in there. But most of the figures back in the time, they were having the back width, they were having the taper, but they were having these lean, longer muscles on the legs. Now, if you look at some girls in figure and you take their shoes off and you put them in posing, like some of them maybe do a photo shoots, and you look at the photo shoots, some of them start looking like physique should look like, or how physique look like the smaller physique girls are now overlapping the bigger figure girls.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because it's good.
And you know, and this is like trickle down to all the classes, because then the smaller figures says, okay, so I don't have a chance now in figures, so what I can do, okay, I will go bikini, and then maybe in bikini she's again like she's tighter, she's having these bodybuilding criteria better than the other ones. So now the smaller bikini, they don't have where to go. And actually in Europe, after the European IFBB split from NPC, it's now Mr. Santojas IFBB amateur in
I
Europe.
think it's
They have
I think they
a
call it I think they call it
new women class, which is called fitness model. And fitness model is supposed to be smaller than bikini. And because they don't know how to differentiate the class, these girls are now posing in nightgowns.
oh my god.
Yeah, I'm like, you know, like what is supposed to be like smaller than bikini girl, like muscle wise, if you think about it, and like, you know, showing up like they have they have 2 rounds and they post 1 round is one piece suit and the second round is nightgown.
That's
And that's
also
because they say that figure is getting too big. You know, big figure is getting bigger, so these girls don't want to. Bikini is getting bigger, so these girls don't want to compete in bikini.
mm-hmm.
So they now created a smaller class than bikini, which is called fitness model.
That's what to me. That's crazy. But here's a good example of a figure competitor who looks like if she wasn't wearing high heels, she could be physique. This is Lola Montez, and she won the Toronto just last week. And Lola, you know, she took third to Jessica Padilla Reyes at the Olympia last year, and her look is like she has that. If you look at her,
Legs, yeah.
yeah, and especially upper body, she does a little vacuuming. She looks like maybe I would say early physique competitor, something like maybe Judah McCarr when she first won the Olympia, and
Yeah.
her she has a pretty good. She took third to just Padilla Reyes, and here's a little video of her, and if you look at her, it's just wow,
Yeah.
and her shoulders.
And this is what I'm talking about. Like,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you see her shoulders are much wider. Look her. She has that diamond look at the quads. She has that tapering waist they want to see in women's physique, and she has a good amount of lat development. You would think maybe if she put on 10 more pounds, she probably can go up to women's physique and give somebody a run
oh,
for the
no,
money.
not even 10. I think like 5 would be enough.
Five would be enough. Yeah,
Yeah.
and it's the criteria keeps changing. They want the physique girls. They don't want too much gyration in the glutes for figure or even bikini. They don't want too much gyration in the glutes for either the physique and the women. And then with figure, it's more of a transition division where you can either go to up to women's physique, or now you have wellness. You see our ladies who are in physique doing wellness now. We got my man
Yeah.
Yeah, you got my man KL one coming through says, "Hey George,
But
what's up, big guy?"
if you check the women classes, which women classes are really having, this is what I'm also saying with the classes. The classes, if we want to keep them legit, like why we have this class. If you look at the women at that class, you should know, okay, this woman is competing figure, this woman is competing physique, this woman is competing bodybuilding. And the criteria should be so different that girl winning in one class automatically lose in the other classes because she's not fitting in the criteria of those classes. Mm-hmm. And sometimes it's not happening. Sometimes the same girl wins, 2-3 classes.
Was just about I
think like it's that everybody is training the same, everybody is dieting the same. Like if you put the people in the same training, they will develop into basically what is bodybuilding physique. If I put you on bodybuilding training, you develop the bodybuilding physique. In the past, I remember that, for example, figure girls were trying to train different way than bodybuilders. And I'm talking about the early figure versus bodybuilding, you could see the difference between the girls. You could see who's bodybuilder, who's figure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and thing is, like I say, with the criteria needs to be a set criteria because wasn't long ago it was that the remaining muscle fest.
Now basically you can see bikini is distinctive class. You usually see which bikini girls are doing, they are bikini girls. Wellness is distinctive because of the upper lower body difference. Even though now we can question if some of the wellness girls are not taking it too far in terms of conditioning and size. Because some of them they are having huge legs, but they are starting having a bigger upper body as well.
Yeah.
And then you have all the other classes. To me, many competitors look the same. You can see the difference only when the girl takes the heels or don't take the heels or take sparkly bikini or plain bikini, and then you can see, okay, she will be probably bodybuilder, figure of physique.
Yeah, and I think with the criteria, if you have a set criteria where you say, okay, this is physique, this is figure, this is bodybuilding. We don't
can
want
still have the same set of criteria, but the priority can be put on different criteria. Like let's just say, for example, in figure, hypothetically, I can have two competitors. One will be shredded, will be like good conditioning, will be like not that good, for example, shape, and the other one will be, for example, shapely, very nice V taper, but will be in competition shape, but will be a little bit softer. So let's just say in figure, the softer should be the harder girl, because the emphasis should be more on the shape, the overall shape. Then you may have two girls who have good shape, but one of them will be thicker and one of them will be less thick. In figure, the less thick may lose. In physique, the more thicker girl will win. You know what I'm saying? Like you can put emphasis on different criteria and different classes, and that will lead the classes to differentiate from each other.
It's a man from Man KL, the one who says Lola is an all-star. Yeah, I like Lola Montez. I reached out to her. I hope to do an interview with her some soon. I might see if she's interested still. Also, this is for J Warrior 1000. Here's some suggestion requirements women's bodybuilders should have. More shows invest more money so they can grow. And that's the big problem. It is about money. And, if it was, I think one thing somebody said that it's going to be a money thing about trying to set up a criteria for, women's bodybuilding and something like that. I don't know the whole thing about the money part, but if you have these requirements for men's divisions, like, okay, you have men's open, then you create men's physique, then you create classic physique, and you create 212, and if the guys in 212 eventually go up to men's open, and you have guys in men's physique either going up to men's figure or even guys in men's classic going up to 212. But like I said, those guys will take that and say, you know what, I might as well go up if I'm developing. But then when you put in those height weight requirements, that's going to give them an out. So you don't have to, I don't have to go up to 212 or go up to this division. I have an out. I just come in conditioning and be in shape and working my weight and height parameters.
Yeah, of course. Like I think with more classes is more money for the promoters. Like just face it.
Yeah.
But I say like the ridiculous rules in women in IFBB in Europe. Imagine that in Europe there is also more men classes. If you look at that, they don't have just men physique, men classic physique, and men bodybuilding and 212 maybe. If you look, and I'm saying again, amateurs levels. But if you look at the amateurs levels, the higher levels like pro qualifiers, which why for me it's important to look at the pro qualifiers is because at the local shows sometimes you have competitors who are like not having that many criteria in their physiques, and then you have one person who may have all the criteria, and even though this person will not really fit into the class, you cannot put them on the last place, because that way you would be putting on the first place somebody who's having less criteria than this person. But at the pro qualifier level, there should be already a set of good competitors, and it's basically a pool for the pro level. Like if I will prefer certain body type for 5-6 years, the winners will go to the pro level. Then this body type will start being like more prominent in the pro level, because you pick them up on the pro shows, on the pro qualifiers. And now think about that. Europe, for example, is now having in men classes, they have men physique, men classic physique, men classic bodybuilding, physique game, which is like, I don't even know what it means. I think that's something to do with the World Games, and muscular physique. And then you have all the bodybuilding classes. So it's like, they already have like 5 or 6 more men classes in Europe, in the pro shows, in the latest European Championship. You can check it out.
Mm-hmm.
But also, even these more classes is bringing, of course, more money in the promoters. Then what it also does to me, what I see is like that you have 8 classes and you have only 3 competitors in each.
Mm-hmm.
Like if the more classes you do, the more you also split the people. As I said, like you basically take away different body types and you don't have so many people competing in these classes.
And cut down the numbers, because I think last year they decided to take away the point system in the pro level, but it's saying because the fact was too many competitors. But then if you have promoters who have shows where you have just men's classes,
but I think there is with the points, I didn't agree with that much either, because it's not about like how many people get on points, because there are only 3 people from each class getting on points. But you have now different, I would say before, the classes like bikini and men physique and these classes take over. You had approximately same amount of pro shows for all the classes. But now every, like a local promoter, to make his local show look better, will slap some pro class on it. And usually they will slap either bikini or men physique or classic physique or something. So you have like, how many we have for bodybuilders? We have now like 6 shows for women bodybuilders in a year. But you have like 70 shows for bikini.
Mm-hmm.
So even if you take all the winners, you will still have 70 winners from these shows, because you have 70 shows for bikini and just 6 shows for women bodybuilding.
Yeah, because it's
not about like to do the point system, but it's more to me like about how many shows is really having that class.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you let the local shows take on pro classes, and most of them will take the pro class, which is like the easiest for them and also the most popular amongst I think maybe even amongst the competitors, because the local level competitors you will get mostly the bikini girls and the men physique guys, the young competitors who are starting, who are in these beginning classes. Of course, they have their idols. So you will get more, I feel like you will get also more of the amateurs competing on your show when they can meet their idol in backstage,
Yeah.
And it sounds better to slap like a pro class to your local amateur show. But as I said, like then you have like a 70 bikini girls competitions throughout the year. You will still have 70 girls on stage.
And then you also can't forget wellness. Wellness also going to have a bunch of shows too.
Oh, yeah.
This is from man Roy says, I think Cherish Richardson will beat Sydney this year. Better delts and significantly sharper, deeper abs. Maybe because Sydney she's pretty dominant. And also he also says I can't hang on with her knowledge. To be honest, KL, I don't know much about all these. Not a bodybuilder. I am just a natty lifter. Yeah, and she's really like when Mikhail says he's asking says hey Roy, you want to hop on? I asked Roy if you want to hop on. He says no, and he says Mikhail says I don't know if want to either. I'm not going to say much, but it's always good that you ask questions, because you know what, people want to know what details, what separates the divisions other than the height, the weight, the muscles, all those stuff like that. This is why I have this discussion, because you know what, I wanted more people to come on and talk and give their point of view, but we got a lot of here. She's been in the business for 30 years. She's been on stage with women who are pro levels, who have legends in the sport. She has been across the ocean and here in the States, and she understood, because when I posted it on my IG and it was on my Facebook, because you know what IG, they take IG and Facebook mirror. So if I post something on IG on my main IG, it's gonna go back to my Facebook, and she saw it, and she said she wanted to talk about it. We got a man here, KL Wondering. He might even have some questions, because this is KL the Wanderer. Yeah.
Let me reveal myself. I ain't gonna hold on. Let me
You
I can't.
You don't want to.
All right. Let me take the cam.
All right. So, like I said,
No, I didn't want to, I didn't want to hop on, because you guys, you guys was doing your thing talking about, the difference between the requirements of female bodybuilding. What if they have requirements for female bodybuilding and physique?
hmm
That's what you guys were mostly saying. So I was just
yeah.
listening. I ain't wanna just jump into the oven.
Well, you have a question to ask, you ask because KL does content on Marine Bodybuilding, does interview, and sometimes it's good to know these things. So, what you want to ask Clara? Ask her a question. She'll probably explain it to you.
No, no, I was just listening. Just listen. I'm just hearing you guys out. That's all. If it comes to me, I'll ask. I'll ask. I appreciate it.
Yeah, but that's appreciate to you, really. Say, my man, just for my man, Roy says respectfully, she is gorgeous. Respectfully, she's also married. So but yeah, she is a gorgeous lady. But yeah, it's just
But
that.
like we were talking a little bit before, like you said, I competed abroad. I competed before in levels like not a pro, but I was always in the world class level, world championship, Miss Universe, stuff like that. And I did not only compete in IFBB amateur or NPC. I also, as you mentioned, it competed in NABA, its sister organization WFF or NPC and AC. Those are quite good, big organizations in Europe and rest of the world. Actually, Australia is big on NABA and these federations. And they already have the criteria in a way more specified in their classes. Their classes look a little bit different, as I mentioned to you. And they do have this weight, height criteria already set up for years. They've been here like 80s, 70s, they already set up the rules. And their classes pretty much hold strong since like these times. If you look at the old ancient like videos from like the 70s and 80s, NABA is, for example, having these classes. It's called it's the names are a little bit confusing, but I will be talking about figure and bodybuilding because I want you to know what it is. But in NABA, it's called women figure. Is basically size and shape like a physique. Women physique is what we are saying bodybuilding is, and NPC. And they had some interesting ways how to keep the criteria ongoing. One of them in NAC World Championship, NAC Universe, I was competing in both of these shows. They did have the height and weight formula. And as I said, it was a whole formula. It was in centimeters and kilograms. So sorry for the unit confusion for some viewers. But it was literally like your height in centimeters minus 100.075. So basically 75% of the weight. So let's just say I'm 161 centimeters minus 100 is 61 kilos, and then 75% from the 61 kilos, which landed me somewhere on 56 kilos if I wanted to compete in figure. Which is pretty much a lot of muscles for my height. It's pretty much good amount of muscles.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
it would be.
So I have a question.
It would be almost like a little bit higher than a middleweight for me.
Mm-hmm. Well, Kay has a question he wants to ask you.
What happened is if you went above this criteria, they didn't disqualify you, but they did offer you either to stay in that class, but in that moment you would be judged down because you are over the weight and you're over the criteria and you know it before the show, or to go a higher class. So if you overweight in figure, you can go physique.
Mm-hmm. Well, Kay has a question he wants to ask you. What's your question, KLA?
No, like how long have you been? I haven't followed you too much. How long have you been doing bodybuilding competitions? Like have you just
training since 1994, and my first competition was in 1996.
Oh, okay.
Mhm.
You just competed in Europe, or you
Europe and United States
Mhm.
Oh,
also.
She,
okay, okay.
yeah, because she just got a pro card at the Olympia Amateurs just last year. She competed
Okay.
in, I think you competed women's middleweight, was it? And you were competing in
Light
physique.
heavyweight, actually.
What?
Yeah,
Light heavyweight.
Lightweight,
you
light.
had it
Yeah,
before, yeah.
yeah, lightweight. And and that was the same show that you, Marilyn Yee and Teresa Regino, you get your pro cards. That was the year they debuted women's bodybuilding at the Olympia Amateurs because they always had physique. And I talked to some ladies who competed
Yep,
at that
yep. I
show.
was competing in the previous Olympiads as a physique. Yeah.
hmm And I talked to some women who said that they wanted to, some ladies said they wanted to do women's bodybuilding, but they didn't have the Olympia Amateurs because some women they had to do was either do physique or do fit or do figure, to get their pro cards. And I know some
Yeah,
ladies said, yeah,
I was actually doing both. I was doing bodybuilding and I was doing physique too.
and I
And
forget.
in bodybuilding, I won my class and I was light heavyweight. I was third place in physique.
hmm Yeah, that's
So
definitely.
you can also I'm now like basically talking against myself, but you can see how heavy I was, and I was third place in physique at the same show.
Mhm.
What's
And that's
challenging for you, like bodybuilding or physique? Like what division was more challenging?
More challenging.
Yeah.
Almost physique, I would say now, because and again, it's about the criteria too. When I was competing in physique in last years, I was competing. I was on the lighter scale. I was lighter like a couple of pounds, and I was competing with these women. And because it's just a height class, I was competing with women who were same height, and they were like 10, 20 pounds heavier than me in physique. So
Mm.
that's why I actually turned back to bodybuilding, because bodybuilding in amateur scene is still having the weight classes. So when I went to the bodybuilding, I was competing actually with girls who were more my size than in physique, if it gives sense.
because I think you did a show before that. That was the Masters. It was the Masters was the Masters USA's, I believe it was. It was the same
Yeah,
show
Masters
where
United.
you had Leanna Georgia, her pro card at that show, but you were competing. I think it was they didn't have women's. I think they had women's bodybuilding, but I think you were competing
Yeah, I
physique.
was competing again both physique and bodybuilding, but I wasn't fully in shape in that show.
Yeah, because we saw the pictures from that show. We did our interview, and and like I
I,
said,
I was still having some problems with my legs, so it didn't come out as sharp as I wanted to.
well, you pop back, and you did good, and you get your pro card. Now, this is from a fan of yours here. He says, "This is my man Roy." He says, "1996, she is a legend." Yeah, the '90s was I think was a
Yeah, I
yeah.
was I was competing actually in a teen classes back then, so
96.
I
Wow,
was
wow.
competing. 1996 was my first team nationals in my country.
How
Yeah,
long
she's
it
from.
took you to get your pro card?
Say
Well,
it
I
again.
didn't.
Say it again, KL.
How long it took? How long it took her to get her pro card? Like,
Yeah,
you guys can
25
hear
years.
me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Oh,
25
to
years.
God, but that's a long.
She said
Yeah,
25.
you had her before. Yeah, no, I know you had her before. I forgot. And like she looked familiar. I'm sorry if I don't recognize you, but I kind of I didn't see the whole interview. I'm sorry. Yeah, sorry
Yeah,
about
that's all
that.
right. But yeah, she said she's been competing for 25 years, and and she's been on stage with some women who are legends of sport, women who are legends who have eventually turned pro. Some
Yeah,
have still in the
this
game and
time
still
because
competing.
I was competing with Brigitta Brezovac
Yeah, I
at
remember.
NABA, NIC, and NIC,
hmm Yeah,
NIC Universe.
I remember Bridget.
So
Bridget had
actually, yeah,
yeah.
actually, you know that Brigitta and Alina were competing back in Europe in the same federation like me. So
Yeah. 'Cause I mean, I seen pictures of Lena and Bridgetta together, and Bridgetta, she was really big and thick.
yeah,
I mean, she, I think she could have done a lot better You know,
But this is actually one example of the show where actually the criteria kind of. I have this picture. I'm sorry, I'm on my cell phone, so I cannot pull it on the screen. But I have this picture with Gita, and I competed in the NAC universe with her in the same class actually. And how it happened was exactly as I'm telling you. I was basically overweighting. What happened to me? I was preparing for a figure, and I was too heavy. So they gave me the chance either to compete in bodybuilding in the bodybuilding class, or I would still compete in figure, but I would lose the whole show. So I decided to go bodybuilding because you have the chance to fight for your place at this moment.
Well,
and the same thing happened to me actually in World Championship 2011. Again, like and that was actually interesting. And this can be like one example. For example, different judges in different federation enforce the rules. I was preparing in 2011 for a World Championship in NAC and Universe in NABA WFF. And I did qualify in my country as a figure. And I was, with my weight back then, I was exactly on point. So I was actually not overweighting, but I was like exactly on the point. Like I was having, it was like 56.4 kilos. I had 56.4 kilos. So technically, I would be making a figure. But at that evening was like basically the athlete's presentation. You weigh in and you do the height. And on this presentation, you had to go in your competition bikini already. The judges pulled me aside and they literally told me, we know that you barely made the weight for the figure, but you don't look like figure. You look thicker. So what we are telling you, either tomorrow you will start as a figure, but you will be scored down because your body type is not figure, or we offer you to switch the class and compete in female bodybuilding and basically get a chance to compete for some good placing. So I remember back then I didn't have much trainers, but I have one guy who was like my mentor, if I can say it this way. I called him, I'm like, hey, I'm screwed up. I have to go bodybuilding class tomorrow. And he was like, okay, so we did some tweaking. The next day I was competing in bodybuilding. And that was like, as I said, it was a world championship. So it wasn't a small show. It was like, I don't know, I remember it was like 15 girls in the class. And they were all their nationally qualified girls. So they had to go through some national kind of show, win it, and be qualified for the world championship. So you had like these 15 bodybuilders. I had a feeling I'm the smallest there. I was like, I don't have a freaking chance. But in figure, it would be clear. It would be like I would go figure, I would be last, and I would just walk away. So I said, like, I will try to fight. I fight my way up to the last call out. I actually got 5th place that show. Oana, if you remember Oana is now also IFBB pro in bodybuilding. Yeah. Oana took 1st place, I believe. No, sorry, Paloma Para from Spain, also big bodybuilder. She took 1st place. Oana took 2nd. But then there was some girl from Ukraine, I believe. She was 3rd. She was smaller, like she was half size. But she was having really great shape, great conditioning. She was 3rd place. And I was 5th.
Yeah, the thing is, like I see some shows where some women look like, okay, this girl should be winning the show because she comes in better condition, but then they'll lose to someone like who looks a little bit softer and or not as grainy as they want. And we keep talking about how the criteria keeps changing. And if they just, I don't know, if the judges, if you go from one judge to another, because you have people like Sandy Williams, you got people like I think Steve Weinberger, these other judges, and this is why I learned that even if all the judges choose a competitor and they go with that judge, the head judge has all the control, and he could say, okay, even though he's outnumbered, he could say, you know what, nah, I'm gonna go side with this person. And that's one thing. I know there's a lot of ladies who probably said, like, I should have won that show. And, and it was just that the head judge went with that competitor over you.
Yeah.
Is it always frustrating? Can y'all hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Now I was gonna ask her, was it always frustrating for you in certain competitions like the requirements, the judges, um what
Sometimes.
what
Sometimes.
sometimes um
Yeah, sometimes, yeah.
Hmm.
Especially when like they switch the criteria like from one year to another, like really fast. It happened
yeah.
especially in the. I understand like each class when it's introduced, it's having its growing pains, but especially in physique, it was frustrating for me because I started physique because I had certain image in my mind how I want to look like, how I want to go, and then basically it developed a completely different way too. So
Yeah, it went kind of left field where you wanted to go. Yeah, yeah.
um, I would go like in conditioning, quality, hardness, thickness, stick with female bodybuilding. With women physique would be more of like a, there is this difference. People often don't see it and they sometimes say, oh, you want competitors being fat. No, there's difference between being lean and being grainy, as you say. Being lean, it's like you have all these muscle groups visible under the skin, and then you have this graininess, which is like this hardness. I sometimes say the difference if you think about like a glass shaped statue and a carving, wood carving. In the glass shaped statue, you can see all the lines, but they are kind of like soft. And then you have the wood carving that's really hard, you know, pieces sticking out. So that's to me difference between leanness and graininess. So let's just say I would not prefer graininess in women physique. Let them be lean, and I would prefer like a more of the shape. Something like, as you said, like Glenda Murray in 90s or Corey Everson in the late 80s.
Hmm.
Keep it more like a classic women physique. And it's funny because from some girls, I was talking with some girls, and somebody said we now need women classic bodybuilding to be introduced as a new class.
What ain't that what physique was supposed to be? Because
Yeah,
what's
like the physique is now developing almost to be like 212 in bodybuilding. So
hmm
if you want to introduce like keep the legacy of the 90s, we would need like classic physique in girls, like classic bodybuilding in girls.
well, like I said, that'd be hard to do because the with the men, the guys can probably do that. It'd be harder. I think it'd be a lot harder for the women, and it's even guys in men's classic eventually go up to either they go up to 212 eventually because they're getting a lot bigger. But I think they try. I think they try to look for a female Chris Bumstead in in that's what they probably want to do. They want to get like a female Chris, but you're not going to have that. You like anything, it's the evolution of the athlete. I mean, I was talking with a young lady. She lives in England, and she's still younger, growing, developing as a competitor. Did a couple of more interviews with some women. To this scene that I know they want like women. They want you to go like as men. We like women to stay the same. We don't want y'all to change. But the fact is, you do change. You do. You get older. You get thicker. If you like someone like I someone like Sherry Priyama who I interviewed, and she said she put down about maybe 5 or 6 more pounds of muscle. I was talking Andrew Sauer, who did a live stream right back, and she mentioned she put on like 5 more pounds. She's not competing. She already did 2 shows, but she's done. And I posted on my IG where Renee Marvin, she said she put on another 2 more pounds. With women, you're gonna make those gains. That's why you look at people like Melissa Tyke while she's going up. That's why you're looking at, how Julia Wetzel went up. You see all these other competitors. Some will fight to say, I'm gonna try to stay here. But then as long as you train heavy, you eat heavy, if you want to, you have to pull back, cut back on on your training or try to, not lift so much, that could be a factor. But, as you're getting older, your body slows down, your metabolism slows down, you evolve, and you're gonna put on that size. So you look at people like Helen Trevino, or I saw that in an interview, Irene Anderson, she gained about like 200 some pounds. She's not competing this year, and Irene is almost 60.
Yeah, I know, I know.
Mm-hmm.
No, it
And
was
yeah,
more like in terms of criteria, like that women physique is now like getting more like the smaller bodybuilding almost look like. So we now need something what will be again like focusing more on the elegance. Can be a figure, maybe like if we keep figure girls growing, we have the bigger girls there. But then again, like I said, like if it will be the classes exponentially growing, what at the end is the point of having them? You will have like 10 classes and 5 of them looking the same and just pose different and have a different presentation.
So your mindset, there's no point of them having weight and height requirements in physique or women's bodybuilding. Just let everything goes as it is.
No, I said like, what is the point? Like we either need to enforce the criteria to keep the classes, or if we let it go, we have to be basically okay that it will be developing further and further and further.
So the situation, damned if you do, damned if you don't.
Yeah, basically.
That's
Yeah.
pretty much.
Also, what was interesting, as I said, like there was different things in different federations. What was also one different interesting selection for me? Some people, I already read some comments on Instagram on the men rules, and some people say just we don't need these height weight formulas and competitors watching the weight and stuff like that. Judges just need to be careful when they are judging, to keep the criteria ongoing, to not change the criteria much in the classes. And this was in Universe. It was WFF. WFF is under NABA. And what they did was, again, like they didn't have the weight height formula on their show, but they had so-called pre-selection. I wasn't not aware how to do that before. I was not sure. I never been on a show like that. But again, like because the athletes' weigh-ins and athletes' check-ins are usually taking place one day before the actual competition, they said like first go women, then go men. We all went on stage in lines. So all the girls, they told us, get in your competition bikini and hop on stage. And they were the judges, like a panel of judges, and they tell you group A, group B, group C, group D, another line, group A, group B, group C. So basically at the end of this pre-selection, they had these groups of girls. Then they look at the groups again, like in really fast, like if it fits, and they say, okay, so this group is bikini, this group is figure, this group is physique, and this group is bodybuilding. Like they pre-select the physiques as they see them on stage next to each other. Smaller girls, bigger girls. And then they select them into groups, like approximately the same body types. And then they check the groups so they didn't miss anything, because sometimes you can be in a group with really small girls and you can appear big, so they can put you in the big group, and then in the big group you're small, so they drop you one group or something like that. But they basically like sort you out kind of before the competition. And then the classes were actually also very like they keep certain look in these classes also very good. I mean, it was funny because again, like it happened to me again, the same thing. I was aiming for figure there and I landed in bodybuilding again, but I took a second place. So again, like it's sometimes you may say that these criteria will land you in a wrong class and you're too small because you see yourself like that, but not necessarily it's really like that, or not necessarily because you're the smallest in the class you will end up bad. I actually got second place at that universe.
That's true. Like I say, once I think, so again, if they just really, if right here in the pro levels can figure out what they want to settle with, stick with that criteria, and just always try to just always evolve when how the visions are changing. If you go back to how bodybuilding looked like, how you go back to the Steve Reeves and to the Arnold Schwarzeneggers, to the Lee Haney's, to the Dorian Yates, to the to Roddy Coleman, to to Sean Roten, up to Big Ramy, and to Heidi Chopin. It's about the evolution of each individual and the evolution of the sport. And if you have a set, if you, like I said, if you keep changing up the criteria each time, and and if you want to go, say again, they create the men's classic because they want that throwback look, but even that after a while, those guys are going to get bigger and larger and involved, and one day, 20 years down the road, the guys that look like Big Ramy is going to be called classic men's bodybuilding.
Yeah, yeah, and then it's like this question, like how far we can push it, because obviously, like if you keep the push from the bottom, like the bottom classes will be getting bigger and bigger and crazier. Number one, again, the top class will suffer in numbers of the competitors because they will be really extreme, and only a couple of people will be actually capable to going to this extreme. So you will have to put up that, for example, female bodybuilding, only 2 or 3 competitors will be able to push the criteria if you put it like a bigger and better and harder and this and this and this, because the classes underneath will be going bigger and better and harder and whatever, raising the criteria. Then you get to the point where, number one, you will have not so many competitors being capable to compete on the top classes. And number of 2, it will be taking toll on their health. And I remember, like, I poked a bear once because there was some discussion on some bodybuilding forum as well. And it was a discussion about like what we can do to prevent athletes from dying backstage or on stage or closely around competitions, because it happened last year. We seen a couple of deaths of competitors. One was unfortunately from my country. And there was discussion like what we can do to prevent these deaths. But at the same time, at the same board, there was some crazy condition, some pictures, some crazy conditioning. And the people were going, oh yeah, she's great, she's perfect, and I said, like, you know what? In this moment, it seems to me like hypocritical that in one line you're asking what you can do to prevent death of the athletes, and the second one, at the extreme, super extreme conditioning, you are praising it like, oh yeah, that's the way we should go. You cannot push to the extreme without certain level of risk. So either we will say, okay, let's go for these extremes, let's go and develop it the maximum way we can, but at that moment we have to accept that some athletes will simply put so much strain on their bodies that they will pay the price. Or we will keep saying, okay, what we can do to prevent it, but in that moment there have to be some criteria also preventing this. You cannot have each, you cannot have both.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think, well, I don't know if they're ever going to solve that problem. Maybe someone down the road. And, wait, what says KL?
Yeah, I had a question like for you, a lot of how do you see yourself like in the future with bodybuilding? Like do you see yourself competing? And like,
to be honest, I don't know now, because I just wanted to make some video on my Instagram about my plans. After I won my pro card, I wanted to take a couple of months off to start a little bit focus on my off season, because I was competing back to back for 5 years, I believe, 2018 till 2022, and I didn't have really good off season. So I wanted to go like really good off season, focus a little bit gaining a size, and then decide what class I will do, if I will go physique or bodybuilding in the pro level. But then my mom died. I had to travel to Europe. I had to spend my money. I couldn't really focus. So this year will be totally sure that I will be off. I will be not competing this year. Okay. Next year, I'm thinking either bodybuilding or physique, but I was thinking to hop into the master's classes, because I'll be 45. So,
well, this year they have the master shows coming up. It was, they say it was going to be 45-0, but it's actually 40 plus now for the masters this year. You can apply. You most definitely can apply, because I think someone told me, one of my little birdie told me that they're going to be bringing it back here to the States. I don't know if it's going to be part of the main Olympia or not, but it's good, because it's an opportunity for competitors like yourself.
More from like financial standpoint, I will skip this year, but I'm thinking next year pro, some amateur class in pro. Mm-hmm. But I'm not sure if it will be physique or bodybuilding, to be honest, because I don't know how the criteria will look like. if the physique girls will get bigger and bigger and bigger, maybe I'll fit in a physique with them.
You always try to figure, but I don't think you want to wear a clean heel.
Figure. I was joking. I will do a wellness as well because I always have these big quads, more upper body naturally. So
Wellness is not, like I said, wellness, like some of those wellness girls, many of them at one point were either figure or physique competitors. So with bikini. Yeah, I think it's a division where it's a good division for some of those women that, you know what, I don't have the aesthetics for women's bodybuilding. I might be too large in the lower half for, maybe like I said, I don't have the aesthetics for anymore for physique. I mean, for bikini. They might be, you feel like they might be too large for, figure, and maybe too small for physique. I think, yeah, that's probably good. But like I said, the Masters do it because Master shows are growing. Gary Udit has a show, the Masters World Championships. That's I think that's going to happen in a couple of months. I know a couple of ladies already competed that show, and I think that's a good division for. I think it's good for those competitors who I think one thing why a lot of competitors like the point system because it was for a lot of competitors. It gave competitors who were much older or those competitors that knew they probably wouldn't do as well against more gifted athletes, opportunity to want to compete because but it's about politics. It's about what works for whatever you want, or it's about money or anything else. But whatever you do your show, I want to wish you the best of luck. And we hope that this year you can enjoy your time. You can eat, you can work, you can stack your chips, and then when you're ready, you're ready to go. You pick your show. You also you can apply for the master show because they're always looking for competitors who want to compete. I hope they have it. I know one lady who I know who's a former bodybuilder. She says she's been thinking about it, coming back out of retirement and doing a master show. I said, well, yeah, if you want to, just come back. You give yourself some time, work on a few things. She might do physique because she was bodybuilder, but she might do physique because I think it works more with her size and dimensions now that she's hadn't competed for a good while.
I got one. Nah, forget.
Go ahead.
Nah, I wanted to ask her one more question. Do you ever thought about like being like like a coach or anything like that? Knowing that at times bodybuilding I'm an outsider.
I actually did train people in Europe. I did train some competitors. I don't do it here in the United States. I have my job off the sport. But this and then I'm actually thinking like returning also like a coaching or something like that.
Okay.
Yeah, not saying no to that.
Okay.
Wait, you always do like Sherry Starnes. Sherry Starnes, he coached most of the women in the sport, might as well say. He don't even engage with them directly. He just does stuff offline, gives you a plan, and he works with you. All you gotta do is because you have the knowledge. I know most definitely you have the knowledge. You just gotta, put it together. You can find the right person to work with who really wants to work with you. And you don't have to be there in person. Just give them the knowledge and work with them a little bit like that. Or have somebody like your husband. He can probably be your assistant because give him something to do. But yeah, I think what you're knowing about the sport and dealing with, I think people can always, especially with women. I think women need more women to understand what a woman's body goes through as a competitor. It's a lot harder for a man to understand. I know a lady, she competed, and she was working with a guy who was a coach. He was a man, but he was just giving her the same cookie cutter plan he does for a male competitor. It doesn't always work for a guy. What works for a guy doesn't always work for a woman.
So this is what I was saying, like when I said that, for example, also I don't see like different girls in different classes training different. I was always thinking outside of the box with my competitors. I was thinking like, what would you need as a bikini girl? You shouldn't train the same like a figure. You shouldn't train the same like a bodybuilder. You have to have developed like different body parts. Like that comes with the criteria.
Yeah, because with bikini and wellness, they're the tits and ass division, so you're gonna look focus on one thing or another. But anyway, like folks, we do appreciate a lot of for coming through, giving our knowledge and sharing with us. We don't know will this whole new criteria go trickle down to the other divisions like figure, women's bodybuilding, and physique. It might not. I think, as you know, they're gonna focus more on the men's division because, as we all know, the men's division, be it men's open, be it men's classic physique, or be it men's physique, or 212, those divisions will get more attention. The women still won't get as much attention. They might focus a little bit on. There's no point having requirements in divisions like wellness or bikini.
if you put some weight height class formulas, like for example, I told you the NAC had, it will give a less space to push it to the higher levels. And as I said, like I don't see it actually bad for female bodybuilding, but I believe it would benefit female bodybuilding. It would benefit the female bodybuilding in a way that the girls who want to progress, they would basically have no other choice to go, to female bodybuilding. And sometimes I have a feeling like female bodybuilding, just the name is having like a negative feeling on it. Like I've seen some really big female physiques backstage, and these girls, they were, by every means, they would fill up the criteria to go to the bodybuilding class. It was the USA's, I believe, and these girls are like, oh, I don't want to go bodybuilding because I don't want to be masculine, or I don't want to push. She was already having all the criteria. They have just, some girls just have this like a negative feeling, like female bodybuilding have to be this ugly, manly woman, and they don't want to do it. But actually, like if they would go there, they would be doing well. You know what I mean? It's just in their head that bodybuilding is like not a class for them. If you put the height weight cap, they will have to go to bodybuilding if they want to continue to grow. As I said, it will bring more competitors, more body types, more interesting shows for the fans, I believe. So, like it would benefit female bodybuilding in my eyes.
Maybe you should call it Masters Physique instead of women's bodybuilding.
If you call it some way like that, I would believe more girls would be doing it. I totally do.
Yeah, call it Masters Physique. You have Physique, you have Masters Physique. Master Physique, and it's just like, because that might help it. The name women's bodybuilding, female bodybuilding, kind of frightens a lot of girls. But the fact is,
yeah, that's what I said. But they don't have to be frightened in reality. It's just in their head. So if you push them with some criteria to actually do that class, they may find themselves there, and it can benefit us as a bodybuilding.
Because I see some girls who still compete in EPC that they go ahead and do women's bodybuilding. You might get your pro card. And if you want to compete in physique, you can get physique when you're pro. But like I said, as you're evolving and you hold yourself back, we see there's shows where they only have maybe 3 or 4 female bodybuilding competitors, and no one gets like, especially if it's a pro qualifier. But you do a show, you have like 20, 30 physique girls, and then you say, you know what, you get all these competition. Well, go over here where there's not that much competition.
I believe that even on some pro qualifiers, some competitors lost their pro card in bodybuilding because there was not enough bodybuilding competitors on the stage. But then if you look at the women physique, you would find at least 4 or 5 girls who could fit in there like right away, and they would do well.
I'm gonna ask you a silly question. But
no question. Go ahead.
Aren't they all bodybuilders? Like it's just kind of like watered down bodybuilding. Like that's I don't know.
Basically, I agree. That's what they do. Like if you train, if you do the
thing,
basically, yeah.
Yeah, it's all body. It's just different divisions.
It's just different body. I just say it's sometimes just like a different genetics, different body type. But back then I started in the 90s, and in the 90s you didn't have actually like no other classes than bodybuilding. So at the end of the day, all the different physiques, were competing with each other in the bodybuilding. And I didn't see
matter of fact, I seen your interview with George. Yeah, you was in Romania, right? And it was like a communist rule, and then it took time.
Czech Republic.
Yeah, Czech Republic. Yeah, and then they started showcasing Arnold Schwarzenegger movies, and I think like in bodybuilding and all that stuff, and that's how you kind of seen it.
Yep.
Yeah, because a lot of, I think, like a lot of other women from like Eastern and Central Europe, especially with communist area control, there was, I think, in good part, I think of the 90s, there was a big explosion.
Yeah.
Women coming. Yeah. Yeah, it's a big explosion. But folks, this is a good conversation. I would like to hear more people talk about this. If you watch this video and give a critique, leave a comment, You know, tell me what you think. You think that there should be criteria for women's bodybuilding? You think, you know, it should be the judges should, you know, stick with what works, and you know, and just stick with it. Don't try to keep changing it, or realizing that even though these physiques come in, you know, it's just the evolution of a sport. You know, like I said, a lot of back in the day, there was just women's bodybuilding, and then fitness came along, and then they created, and then they pulled in, well, then came figure, and then they just pulled in. Yeah, and bikini was really pulled in.
Yeah, but the thing was like they always created the new classes because it didn't actually keep the criteria in that class. Because when I started, this was the bodybuilding, right? Mm-hmm. And then they created these fitness girls, and fitness girls, they were not supposed to be gymnasts. They were supposed to be, like, I would say, almost like a CrossFit girls, because back then they would have like an obstacle course, they would have like this physique round where they did like some exercise, you know, like rowing, dips, something like that. And then there was a routine, and the routine was supposed to showcase your physique in the best way, but could be anything. Could be like dancing, could be like, they wanted to keep it different from the bodybuilding though. And
yeah, I remember that.
These gymnast girls came because, especially in Europe, like the age when you start these fitness shows was like 18, and at 18, a lot of the gymnasts become old for the gymnastics. So there are these girls from gymnastics coming now with the physiques, with the gymnastics create also very muscular, T-shaped physique. If you look at the girls who compete at the Olympic Games, like gymnasts, you can see they have good level of muscularity. But they have these crazy skills, and they put them in the routines. And then some judges say, oh, these routines look amazing. But some of the elements were too hard for women who never did anything else. Like, for example, even doing athletics, they were not into like, you know, gymnastics or cheerleading or stuff like that. They were not able to learn the routines to be as effortless, as good looking as the former gymnasts. So the gymnasts took over. So now you have the girls who are already invested in the sport. They are smaller than bodybuilders, but they cannot do the routine. So they created a figure for these girls who were either the smaller, back then they cut the lightweight class in bodybuilding. Mm-hmm. And they had these big groups of girls who were basically former fitness. And they cannot do the routine now. So they created this class, which will be like a smaller girls, fit girls, and they don't do the routine, they just pose. They created this posing. Mm-hmm. Actually, again, like you said, like I know like a lot of history. I was always considering myself more like a fan of the sport than the competitor back then. And actually, it's funny, I never wanted to compete really. I actually wanted to do journalistic about the sport, write about the sport, be in the magazines and stuff like that as a writer. I was in Brno in Czech Republic. World Championship in Brno in Czech Republic was the first show where a figure was actually introduced. So I seen how this class looked like back in the day. And as I said, it was class for basically the fitness girls who couldn't do routines, and the lightweight bodybuilders. Back then they lost their class, so they start trickle down to figure. And they make the figure more shapely, because if you look at the first fitness girls, they were looking like for more like the Hawaiian bikini kind of look. And then these girls from the lightweight bodybuilding start entering figure, and they start getting bigger and more shapely. But it was still on the soft side. It was still like, I would say they had like this flat physique. And back then, actually, a lot of figure girls trying to train differently. I remember that, for example, for figures, back then they said that, for example, you don't train legs that much. Like you train the high volume, you train them to have like a lean legs, a lot of plyometrics. Some of these women didn't train arms. Some of these women didn't train chest. They only trained shoulders and back. But the back was trained to do the width instead of the thickness. So there was some specifics in the trainings for figure back then. And the girls really look different. But then these smaller bodybuilders start entering figure and start making the figure bigger. Meanwhile, they got rid of the classes in bodybuilding, the weight classes in bodybuilding. So what happened now, you have girls who would be competing lightweight or middleweight, either have to go figure or compete in bodybuilding with heavyweight girls. And then I feel like they created the physique to cover this, to cover like something in the middle, because they are getting now figure girls who are getting too big, and small bodybuilders who don't have another class to compete. So they created physique to do that one. And now physique is getting bigger. So
yeah, Because like
And the
to me,
same pathway you can see with the bikini, because some of the girls, again, like in the figure class, they didn't want to be so big, so they created bikini. Now some of the bikini had too big legs, so okay, let's go wellness. But some of the wellness is now having so thick and so big legs that I see some of the girls are returning back to the bikini.
or going up to or going physique.
Bikini from wellness, where they already train legs, they are now thicker in bikini. If they will be giving green light in the bikini, then the bikini will be bigger. You know what I mean? Like the classes are actually influencing each other when you don't keep the criteria straight.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's true. I mean, it's just if you break it down like this, figures like lightweight for women's bodybuilding, physique is like middleweight, and the women's open bodybuilding is like heavyweight. But folks, if you want to watch this video later and give your thoughts and your critique of it, also if you like to, you can follow Lada. I'm going to drop her IG in the comment section. And you want to follow her, and guys, when my rule, guys, no D pics,
no dick pics,
none. She's married. Her husband don't want to see that on her phone. Stop it. I know she's an attractive lady, and but you guys, come on, have some respect. But we do wish you all the best. Take this year off, enjoy your time. Whenever you're gonna shoot for, we support you. Masters is good. Either women's bodybuilding or physique, or you could like some women they double dip, even in the do women's masters and physique or women's masters and bodybuilding. I think some shows will let you do that because masters they give that opportunity to do that if you want. Because I know a couple ladies who did women's bodybuilding and physique at a master show in the pro level. But like I said, whatever works for you, we will wish you all respect. We do appreciate the knowledge you dropped here, the information we know, people who really want to know about what's going on, what's the criteria, what needs to be done. With the men, they get more opportunities compared to the women, but I think you got to figure out where you fit in, and if you feel like you're gonna evolve and grow and get to that next level.
I have a question, real quick.
Go ahead.
I was wondering, like, I don't know if this is valid, but why don't the women kind of organize something to kind of like speak out or give their solution to it? I don't know. I'm just throwing that out there.
Well, most people won't do it because the fact is, that's a union, and most big companies don't like unions. Unions, take away a little bit of power from the big bosses and they give more power to the people.
I think it's also like, if I can wait in a little bit, like we can talk, like many of us say, okay, this would be great, but then there will be always that one competitor who want to be better. Let's just say, like we will say with other physique girls, okay, let's just do like a less conditioning and less smaller size and more emphasis on the X frame and stuff like that. And there will be the one competitor who is like, okay, so will come now a little bit harder to win, or a little bit bigger. There'll be always the person. Like this is why I think that actually this criteria should be created by judges.
Yeah.
Because competitors, they always want to be best. So if you put, even when we agree on some criteria, okay, this is too much, so let's not do it. There'll be the one girl, I believe, who will say, okay, let's do it because I want to win. And she will push it again, so this is why I believe also that the judges have to carry the criteria on, because competitors are competitive.
Yeah. And it's about just sometimes.
Another thing is, like, I think that some girls may be a little bit scared of that they will be punished if they speak their mind out. I don't really care, because my goal was not even to get the pro card. My goal was to be good for my sport.
So it's almost like you're a slave of the sport.
It's a goal for me big enough that I was able to get it and to be calling myself my IFBB pro. And I probably will be not shooting for like a first place for Olympia. And as you, George, said, it's a politics sometimes, especially at the higher level. But I will be not worried that, for example, if I giving this podcast, it will cost me a place on Olympia.
Yeah.
I just want to do a couple of contests. I just want to have fun now in the pro level. But I am very realistic about my physique, about my own gifts, what I have in my physique. I would like to do well on the IFBB pro level, but I know that I'm not the one who will be fighting for the Olympia title. So I'm not afraid that much. Like somebody who, for example, may have a shot for the Miss Olympia title.
Yeah, you're like old Mike Tyson says, I just want to fight. That's all I want to do. I just want to fight. That's all I want to do. I want to fight. So anyway, folks, like I said, I thank my man KF for coming through here. I think a lot of them coming through here. Like I said, I'm gonna say like this. There should be requirements, but you gotta understand, you're an athlete and you have to evolve and keep going to the next level. You can't, say, okay, let's have this and we can stick with that. And you know what's gonna stick with that? If you look at the sport now, every single time, it's gonna evolve. You go from Corey Everson, you go from Linda Murray, you go from Iris Kai, you go from Daly Bailey to Julian McCarr to Natalia Quayo to Andrea Shaw. You just every single time it's just the evolution of an athlete. But women, they are not supposed to be athletes. You're supposed to be soft, feminine, make babies, and that's about it. But but hey, if you're in a sport where you make gains and you develop, and also if you're a competitor out there, don't be afraid to say, you know what, I'm not doing good in this division. Let me go someplace where I might do a little better. Don't let your head get in your way, saying because I don't want to be feminine. I don't. Look at Andrea Shaw, a beautiful woman. Look at someone like, just happy birthday, to Sheena Olick. There are some beautiful women in the sport. Yes, there's some women who look a little hard. They look like they have a jaw like Jay Leno, and but it's just that it's always about how you grow and develop as an athlete. So I'd like to thank y'all both again for this little conversation. Maybe we get some people to understand, or maybe we get some people to start talking. And maybe we might even get some people to say, I don't know. But like I said, I'm just a guy with a voice, and I just had a thought in my head, and I want to share with y'all, and I want to share y'all opinions with me too.
Appreciate you.
Yeah, I appreciate you, brother.
Exactly. I just want to spark the discussion.
Yeah, and like I said, folks, I'd like to thank y'all again for coming through. We appreciate y'all time. I hope y'all have a great rest of your week. We just got, and I think this weekend is Father's Day, and also this weekend is Juneteenth, the day we were free from slavery. And all two fathers out there, and all out there who are a fan of bodybuilding, support this sport. Reach out to people like Lotta and give them support. If you are someone out there also who wants to sponsor her, because like I said, after her mother's death, and we said rest in peace to her dear mother, that was tough financially on her. These ladies can use some help. Don't be like I said, don't be that weird guy. Don't be that weird guy. But be someone genuinely wants these athletes compete, and also be someone to step up and give women bodybuilding opportunity that they're not getting at this year like any other sport. So anyway, I appreciate you coming through. Thank y'all for sharing and your thoughts. Share, comment, subscribe. Make a comment of what you feel like needs to be done. Should they be criteria? Should not be criteria? Should they create a new like maybe a classic physique for women, or change women's bodybuilding to masters physique, whichever works. Maybe keep the sport going. So anyway, thank you all for coming through. Like I'm thanking my man Ward for coming through. Like thank my man KL. Like thank a lot of for coming through. Like, comment, subscribe, and it's your man all the way George Page, aka the Emperor of Female Bodybuilding Talk. Don't like, subscribe. We're out. Have a good rest of your week.
Have a good night, everyone.